Moms, what's something you sacrificed for your child that nobody ever knew about? I gave up my dream job when my son was diagnosed with autism at age 3. It was a quiet sacrifice. No dramatic goodbye, no announcement. Just one day, the life I thought I'd worked for slipped into the background, and I traded it for something else entirely. At the time, I had just been offered a position as lead curator at one of the most prestigious art museums in the state. I'd spent 15 years working toward that exact opportunity, studying late, working unpaid internships, climbing the ladder, curating small exhibits, hoping someone would notice, and finally, they did. The job offer came with everything I dreamed of: full creative control, a generous salary, my own office with big windows overlooking the sculpture garden. But it also came with travel, late hours, fundraising events, and gallery showings. Basically, it demanded everything. And then came the diagnosis. My son needed therapy, specialized behavioral therapy 3 times a week, each session costing $180. Insurance wouldn't cover it, not my husband's, not mine. We applied for assistance, grants, nothing came through. That was nearly $2,000 a month just for therapy. So I turned down the curator job and took a position as an administrative assistant at a local insurance office instead. Half the salary, zero creative input, a window that faced a dumpster. But it offered flexible hours and, more importantly, health coverage that included my son's treatment. For years, my husband assumed I'd just lost traction in my field. I let him believe it. He never pressed, and I didn't offer. My parents were quietly disappointed. My mom once said, "I thought you'd be running a gallery by now," and I just smiled and changed the subject. Even my friends didn't get it. They'd invite me to art openings, and I'd say I had work early. They'd joke about me being the queen of spreadsheets, while I laughed and nodded, hiding how much I missed it, but I never said a word. I didn't want my son to grow up thinking he was the reason I stopped doing what I loved. I didn't want him to feel like a burden, or worse, like something to make up for. The therapy worked better than anyone expected. By the time he was 10, he was in mainstream classes, making friends, telling jokes that actually made me laugh, and then something amazing happened. He started to draw. At first it was stick figures, dinosaurs, robots. Then it was comics, then entire scenes. His teachers called to tell me he had incredible visual processing, a talent for color theory even before he understood what it was. We filled sketchbooks. I'd come home from work and find him at the kitchen table, humming while he shaded a dragon's wings or mapped out a city skyline. It was like watching him bloom in front of me, line by line. Last month, at his high school's annual art showcase, he won first place, not just in his grade, overall. His piece, a mixed media sculpture made from recycled metals and glass, was displayed in the front lobby all week. Strangers took pictures with it. We went out for burgers to celebrate. He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, then whispered in my ear, "Mom, I found the rejection letter from the museum in your old files." I froze. I'd hidden it in a folder marked taxes. He must have found it years ago. He looked at me with those eyes, so much older than I remembered and somehow still exactly the same, and said, "I know what you gave up for me." My heart cracked wide open. I started to respond, but he cut me off. "Don't worry, I'm not sad about it. I just wanted to say thank you." I smiled through tears. I didn't try to stop. "It wasn't a sacrifice," I told him. "It was the best investment I ever made." He just nodded, grinning, already pulling out his sketchbook as we waited for our food. And in that moment, sitting across from my 16-year-old son, watching him sketch out his next idea, hearing him talk about maybe applying to an arts conservatory, I realized something. I didn't lose my dream. I just passed it forward.